Parents of Reddit, what is the most embarrassing thing your toddler said out loud in public? My friend's kid once asked his mom's female friend where her boobs were. The friend had much smaller breasts than his mom. That was certainly awkward for everyone present. A little girl I babysat, maybe 3rd grade at the time, asked me if I even had boobs. I'm a female, become. Before I could even respond, her brother, 5th grade, responded she does. 4-year-old son was misbehaving in a store, and I told him if he didn't control himself we were going to leave. He escalated, and I picked him up and carried him through the entire store. He was surprisingly putting up little fight. As we passed the checkout lanes he loudly says, "Hey mister, put me down." I didn't hesitate, didn't make eye contact with anyone, just turned beet red and kept marching out the door. Clever boy. I was with a group of friends and was asked if I drink. I said I don't really, and my daughter said, "But mom, you drink all the time." She had no idea the difference between drinking alcohol and drinking everything else. My mom always drank a can of Mountain Dew in the mornings when she dropped me off for school. I told all of her friends that she loves to drink and drive and that she was very good at it. Well, at least she's good at it. My wife had my 3-year-old at the park one day. She decided to pick up some litter to make the park look nicer, so she was throwing away pop bottles, chip bags, etc., and he wanted to help. He stoops to pick up some cigarette butts and my wife says, "Leave those to mommy." She wasn't going to pick them up, but didn't want him to touch them either. A few minutes later he has gone to play. He tells another mom, "I'm finding cigarettes for mommy." My wife was so embarrassed and said she got the dirtiest looks from nearby parents who heard this. Mayo, I'm dying. I would have been so embarrassed. Your wife sounds like a nice person. I was planning on doing the same thing with my daughter this year in my community. I'll remember this story when somehow doing something really nice backfires for some reason. Yikes. My youngest sibling is 10+ years my junior, so I grew up with him embarrassing me in public. The worst was around Christmas one year when we went to Walmart after going to a church service. The service was about the virgin birth and how no other virgin had ever had a baby before. My brother was probably about 4 to 5 at the time, so while he didn't know exactly what made someone a virgin, that service taught him virgins couldn't have babies. Anyway, we are in the checkout line, and behind us is a woman who is obviously pregnant. My brother points to her and says very loudly, "Look, that lady isn't a virgin. I mean, facts." Disclaimer, this was not my toddler, but a toddler said this to me while I was waiting in the grocery line. "I have a vagina and new party shoes." Really, what else do you need? This was me at age 24. When I was little, under 5, my dad would jokingly ask if I wanted a cold beer. I would always respond with no, until one day when we were in the grocery store, he asked if I wanted anything, to which I replied, "A cold beer," while we were standing in line. My son came home from kindergarten with his backpack full of canned food. When pressed about the issue he confidently stated that he had told the teacher he was hungry and we didn't have any food at home. They had sent him home with the donations for those in need. We got him to return the food the next day. It's a funny story we tell now, but talk about embarrassed. Not me but my midwife. Pregnant with second child. 3-year-old daughter asks why mommy's belly is so big. She's told there's a baby in there. She turns to daddy and asks, "Do you have a baby in there too?" Dad replies gently, "No, I'm just fat." A few days later in the checkout line, and there's a very large lady behind them in the line. The little girl asks the lady, "Do you have a baby in your tummy like my mummy?" The lady is kind and just says no she doesn't, to which the girl responds, "Oh, just fat then? That's not even roasting, that's just incineration." At a fairly nice restaurant my brother was teasing my daughter and my daughter screamed at him to stop and threatened to call him the N-word. The N-word was nipple. When my cousin was about 2, she still occasionally took baths with her mom, my aunt. One night we're at their house for dinner. Out of nowhere, she blurts out at my uncle, "Daddy, you got hair on your pee-pee too?" And that was the first and only time in my life I nearly required the Heimlich maneuver. When he was being humped by a puppy and me yelling at the puppy to stop. Don't yell at him. He loves me. I guess he's not wrong. When I was about 5, my grandma's Shih Tzu was humping my leg and the adults were telling him to stop. I yelled, "No, I like it." The memory haunts me. Wait. I have a story about my sister. This happened back in the 70s, and she was about 3 years old. My mom tells this story all the time. She and my mom were in a very long line for the restroom. There was a lady a few people in front of them who was over 300 pounds. My sister yells, "Mom, isn't that the fattest lady you've ever seen?" Other people in line were doing their best not to laugh, and my mom is horribly embarrassed. And then my sister looks at her and asks, "Isn't she the fattest lady you've ever seen?" My mom had enough and took my sister out of the line and walked away. My sister, at about age 3, pointed at a large black lady on the bus and loudly exclaimed, "Fat Albert." My mother was horrified, but thankfully said lady had extraordinary grace and told the loud toddler that yes, she was fat, but she was not Albert. My daughter was practicing ballet. Me and my 4-year-old son were in the room behind the glass, which is full of families watching and waiting. I was showing my son YouTube videos to keep him calm. He says, "Why are we watching naked Spider-Man videos? What were you watching?" "Naked Spider-Man videos." Smashes table. "Get me more videos of naked Spider-Man." I was in Costco and my son, who was about 5 at the time, ran up to me, grabbed my hand, and started pulling me towards the next aisle. Dad, look. Real ninjas. Whilst pointing at 2 women in full burqas. My daughter did the same at Target. Walking down an aisle she screeches and points, "Mommy, look, there are ninjas. Ninjas." That was a fun habit to break. Cousin's child with a black eye. "What have you done?" "Mama punched me." "Okay, she did, but it was involuntary while playing. We were playing, and she hasn't learned to block Mama's mean right hook yet."